last time that you took care of yourself and was just a little bit selfish? Hi, my name is Aya McCullum, and in this podcast, Tales of the Stardust, I will be telling you stories from antiquity and world mythology, but in a different light and different perspective, with stories that you can incorporate in your everyday life, because these stories have been told from generations to generations, and there must be some meaning to them. So come and join me as we dive deep down in today's story. In the last 2 episodes, we talked more about introverted goddesses and the ones that really stood back, but really internally changed. But then last episode, we talked about Ares and Athena, that make themselves very prominent in the Greek pantheon. But there's one goddess that is very prominent and tries to make herself as much prominent as she can throughout all the myths that she is mentioned in. And I am talking about the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. Now, this episode is structured around something that I want to convey, and it's selfishness, because there's 2 sides of this spectrum. It's a spectrum of selflessness and selfishness. What I want to start off with, it's from a character that is in a book by Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. Now, this book has a character named Beth, who is the youngest out of the March sisters. Beth is the nicest, gentle character of all the sisters in the March family. She's the only one that goes out and takes care of the poor, the sick. However, and this may be a little spoiler, she doesn't really have a happy ending than the rest of the sisters. Now, Beth is a really good character and a good model to keep yourself off of, but she is on the total different spectrum of what Aphrodite is on. Now, why did I start with talking about Beth? Well, Beth is the kind of person that puts herself before others, which is not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a good trait to have. However, there's a certain price that comes with that. When we put people above ourselves, we put ourselves lower than other people. And with structuring yourself to thinking that in order to get happiness, you need to give out happiness in order to receive it. And yes, that is good, but in the end, you need happiness inside yourself. And that is where Aphrodite comes into play. Most of us growing up were told that we can't be selfish. Selfish is terrible. Being selfish is terrible. Being selfish means that you're spoiled. Well, now it's time for me to shake up the taboo just a little bit. Because there is, as I said, there is a spectrum. And there's balance between the two. And you need balance. If you keep giving yourself to others, there will be no more of yourself for you. That is where Aphrodite comes into play. Throughout mythology, we see Aphrodite as this prominent goddess. She does what she wants. She doesn't have anyone hold her back. And that mentality is because she is a goddess, but she's also the goddess of love and passion. Love and passion are not different things, but they kind of correlate to selfishness. Passion is something that can be shown in an erotic sense, but it also could be seen as just a sense of living, a passion for living, you can say. And Aphrodite exemplifies that in all her being. Because yes, we see her through a titlement of erotic passion, but it's for herself. And that's what makes her selfish, is because everything that she does is for herself. But then, wait. What are you saying? All the gods are selfish. That's what makes them so dramatic. Yes, but Aphrodite exemplifies that. That is what she's the goddess of. She's the goddess of passion and love. So if there's a spectrum, she's already on she's already on the selfish side of it. But when we think of passion going along with selfishness, we don't have to think of it in an erotic sense, because passion is everywhere. A passion for living. Some of us have passions. It could be music. It could be drawing. But being a musician and an artist is not an ideal profession to most people. Here's an example of a passion for living. Someone wants to be a musician because they always had this love for music and this burning fire to create something. However, the family of this person wants them to do a noble job. This person can be selfless and get that noble job to make his family happy, because if his family's happy, but this weighs down the selflessness of the scale. What about the others? What about that passion for music? Now, you could go full throttle, but the point that I'm trying to convey here is that there are different passions to say, this is what I want to do, and I want to do it because there's a light spark, and it's for me. It's for nobody else in this world but me. Usually, when you want something, people feel guilty towards it. Like getting that last cookie or that last piece of cake. You feel guilty because you feel someone else deserves it, not that you deserve it. Aphrodite contradicts that. You do deserve it. The problem is we've been high-wired in our brains to think that someone needs to tell us that we need something or that we deserve something. We can't tell it to ourselves, because if we tell it to ourselves, then we're selfish. Aphrodite, throughout all Greek mythology, does things for herself, and she's that embodiment of that selfishness. And that is something that we sometimes need. You know what? Screw everyone who wants that last piece of cake. I'm going to have that piece of cake. Or it can really just be, I want to be a musician because I love music and I want to put all my time and effort into it because I love it. Because I love it. Not because you love it, the family that I love, but because of me. Now, Aphrodite, as I said, is on the total end of the selfish spectrum. There's probably no selflessness in her actions in Greek mythology. And yes, sometimes we do need to be selfless. But this episode is not about being selfless. This is about you and being selfish. So today is your lucky day. So just for today, do something that you want to do. It can be anything. But as long as nobody tells you to do it or tells you that you deserve it. Because you're the only one who can say that I deserve something. Because really, in Aphrodite's sense, she loves herself. She loves herself with all her being. Because she is love. And that's how she spreads love around her. Because you can't give love without having love for yourself. So for today, do something for yourself and be a little selfish. I was about to say because you deserve it. You're saying that to yourself. Thank you so much for listening to Tales of the Stardust. If you'd like to hear more content like this, be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @im_McCullum. And as always, let the stars be your guide.